Hello, hello, everyone. I'm not sure if you can all hear me. Let's see. I'm going to try to do this properly. Can you let me know if you can hear me, please? You can hear me. Hi, Nina. I'm actually going to add you to this session in just a moment. I'm just trying to make sure I'm all set. Yes, I am. Hi, Emily. Hi. Is this Ileana, Ivana, Michelle? People are logging on, which is great. Ah, Nina, now I need to unmute you. We're good. Hi.
Hello, how are you? How do you pronounce your name? Is it Duenia?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of our webinar. I'm just going to wait a little bit so people can start, so people can get on. I usually try to start promptly at 8. But hi, everyone who's logging in so far. Let us know where you're from, and if you want to, type what your business is so we can actually get to know a little bit about you. From Toronto, so you got the good weather today, like we did.
Haha.
Yes, Michelle, I was out like farmers marketing. I was so excited. Oh my gosh. Ooh, health and wellness writer, exercise gerontologist. That's great. Emily, you're from Toronto. You have a digital media business. Excellent. I feel like I haven't done a webinar in a long time. I might have done one in July. I really don't remember. Normally, I try to do 2 a month.
Yeah.
It's been hectic. It's been very, very hectic this past couple months, but it's okay. We're gonna get it done.
And it's the summer, so we're at least in Canada, we're trying to make the most out of the summer. So I feel it's extra hectic if you're doing business and summer
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah, because the summer is so short, you don't have any choice but to try to squeeze as many things in as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it does make it difficult because I get so nervous once the temperature starts hitting, 22 being the high,
Mm-hmm.
because it's it makes me want to cry. It's like summer's over already.
Yeah, for sure. And I used to live in Los Angeles, so it took me a while to get used to the Toronto winter, and I'm still not used to it, I
Oh
think.
my God. Yeah, LA, sun
Yeah,
all the time. Well, most of the time.
most of the time. Yeah, except for the rare day when you have a rainy day and everybody is going crazy because it's raining.
Oops. Sorry, I'm actually turning off my phone. What are the chances of someone calling at 8 o'clock? Apparently, it's not slim to none. It's none. Yeah, well, it's 8 o'clock. I'm trying to be prompt. People are still logging in. But hi, Dwayne. Okay, my name is Ivana. I can't believe I said hi, Dwayne. Okay, hi, Ivana. You're a registered massage therapist, a certified laser therapist, and you're planning on opening a clinic in Burlington. Great. You live in Ottawa right now. Wow. Look at that. That is pretty awesome. Well,
That's really amazing.
I wish you luck. Burlington's probably a really good location too. It's a growing city, so I think it'll be great. Excellent. So welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on our August webinar. I know a lot has been going on, and I have been sending out apology emails because I was going through some health issues and I had to have surgery, but I'm healing well. I'm doing well. So please, I really appreciate all the messages of support. And, I've been very positive throughout all this. So I'm sure that I will get a cancer-free reading within the next week. So let's just keep that positivity going. But I still want to try to do what I can do. I did have to cancel my expo. That's because that was a high stress event, and I'm trying not to be stressed. But I wanted to continue with webinars because those are doable. I would like to think, no, I don't even think. I am not the one doing the webinar. I am just here for the ride with you. So really, I'm not doing much work except for pressing the slides. That's why we have the expert Nina here, because she's the expert. She's the one doing the hard work. So I'm here, pen, paper, ready to go. And yeah, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And I appreciate your understanding, because I know the expos are something that a lot of people look forward to attending. And I couldn't do it. I had to make that decision because my health was what I needed to focus on. So that does mean it will be bigger and better next year. And yeah, that's really it, really. So I'm going to hand it over to Nina. What I'm going to do, Nina, if you would like to introduce yourself or ask any questions, great. I am going to start the PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone has questions, please do feel free. We have a question box and you can ask questions in the chat. I will keep track of the questions and try to, jump in. You can see the same thing I will be able to see.
Mm-hmm.
I did get a question via email. I have to remember to ask that at the end. Earlier from someone, they submitted a question right away. And yeah, we'll go from there. So I am going to share my screen and pull up your presentation, and let's rock.
Wonderful. Great. So I hope this will all go smoothly. If there is a hiccup, so I apologize in advance for any hiccups, because webinars are live. We are live right now. Yes. So anything can happen, including a slide that is messed up maybe. But welcome everyone. Yeah, great. I see my slide. So wonderful.
Anything can happen. Like, I just dropped my beautiful coaster that a lovely guest at my event gave to me. She's awesome.
Oh, I love the rebel red color.
Yeah. So I will not drop that again.
So yeah, thank you so much, Duenia, for having me on today. This is such a pleasure and such an honor. I always love doing webinars and sharing my knowledge, and especially with women entrepreneurs. We need to support each other. I'm all for rooting for each other. So let's do this. Let's learn a little bit more about how we can use content to increase your business's visibility and engage prospective customers. And we not only engage prospective customers with our content, we also engage existing customers. But let's just say the prospects are the first step. So that's why we put it this way. But let's just maybe dive into the next slide. If you have any questions along the way, as Duenia said, we're fielding the questions as we're going through. At the same time, I think the whole presentation was set to be about an hour. I mean, I'm available to go over, but let's try and keep it to that hour so that we can all, go and enjoy the rest of our evening. But a little bit about me before we get started. So my name is Nina GRENNINGLOH REYES. My first name, my last name, my GRENNINGLOH is German, and Reyes is Spanish, as you can guess. So I was born and raised in Germany, and I'm married to a Puerto Rican. That's just for a little bit of a fun fact. I founded Communications Rebel a couple of years ago because I want to help mission-driven organizations, business founders and entrepreneurs tell a more powerful story. By mission-driven, I mean everybody who wants to who's not just in the game for making money, but who also want to be of service and make a difference in other people's lives. And that doesn't mean that you have to change the world, but maybe you have, a bigger mission, a bigger idea that you can use your business for good. And that's my ideal audience here. So my mission is to help businesses build real relationships with people and grow their impact. My tagline that I often use is, your secret weapon is your true voice. And you can find me at communicationsrebel.com.
And Communications Rebel on Instagram, because I just tagged her.
Yes, Communications Rebel on Instagram, which is where I'm at mostly. I'm not that much on Facebook anymore. Mostly Instagram and LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, you can find me just by searching my full name, Nina GRENNINGLOH REYES.
Perfect.
So let's move on. So this is just another little slide to get into the topic today. So today I want to share 8 steps to develop what I call, or what is often called, content marketing, your content marketing program. And I wanted to share something that is from a recent survey that this organization, the Content Marketing Institute, did with all of their members. And it was interesting because 72% of their respondents to the survey said that their organization is challenged with managing their content strategically. And mind you, those were bigger organizations. So if we as solopreneurs or as small business owners feel like, the whole content game and sharing content on our websites, blogs, social media, and what have you is challenging, mind you, everybody has this challenge, even big organizations. And I'm here to guide you through a few steps that you can take to make it less challenging for you and even more beneficial to you and your audience. So let's just get a quick overview of what those 8 steps are before we're diving in. And just to see the 8 steps to your success, I'm starting out, usually even when I'm working with clients, to write down an editorial mission statement, which is something that not many organizations have, and we often don't think about before we start even thinking about content. And then step 2 is to create for your audience. Step 3, build your content dream team. And then step 4, create a simple editorial calendar. And how do we do that? And then step 5, plan for visual content. Step 6, host and distribute your content. Step 7, I go over a few tips and advice on how to make your content human friendly, and don't even think in terms of marketing or salesy language. And then step 8 is measure and repeat what works. So those are the 8 steps to success, as I like to call them. And why don't we just dive right in? But before we start, what is content? I just thought this was interesting because when we talk about content, there's so many things we can do. There's so much we can share, whether it's blog posts, articles that we write, video, audio, there's podcasting. So in general, whichever format you choose, I think some of these little quotes are interesting because they reflect how I think about content as well. So one thing here to point out is content is anything that adds value to people's minds. So you want to think in terms of, how can I help people? How can I be of service when you share something? And then also something that I thought was interesting, your goal should be to own quality time in your customer's inbox. So if we think about, quality over quantity, that's also something that when I work with clients, people often struggle with the idea of, Nina, I have to be consistent. I have to, send out an email every day or every other day or every week. Well, it's really not about the quantity. It's really about the quality. I have seen clients and I have seen other businesses that are not that frequent with their content, but whenever they do share something, they share very, very, high quality content, which adds a lot of value to what I'm looking for. It answers a lot of questions. It maybe has some really practical tips, and so forth. So it's really not a matter of quantity, it's a matter of quality. So that also will relieve you, especially if you have a small business. And then a few other things here is traditional marketing talks at people, but with our content, we want to talk with them. So try and bring them into the conversation. Always, make it like a dialogue or a conversation more than talking at people. So let's go to the next slide here. So let's go over the first step. What do I mean by editorial mission statement? So I always say that if you don't have an editorial mission statement, it's a little bit like a ship without a compass or a ship without a sail, right? You have the ship, but you don't really know where you're going with it. So if you write down what you actually want to accomplish with your content, you have a compass that guides you through these open waters of where you'd like to go. So I would challenge you to think not like a marketer or not like somebody who wants to sell a service or a product, but think like a publisher. There is I think Gary Vee, I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Vee, he's the big social media guru in the US, but Gary Vee always talks about this a lot, where it's this idea of being a publisher and not a marketer. Because if you think like a publisher, you switch your thinking from selling to serving. You basically think about, okay, what can I put out in terms of content that is more than just information, but that provides value. Maybe it's an inspirational piece. Maybe I create something that shares a win, that everybody can participate in. Maybe it's showing gratitude, and in general you want to be of service. So how can you think like a publisher when you think about your content? So when you write down an editorial mission statement, can be very short and sweet, but I think it should have 3 elements. So the first thing you want to think about is, who are you writing or producing your content for? Who is that listener or that reader? And try to be very specific. Put yourself in this other person's shoes and think about, who needs what I have to offer and who do I want to write for? So don't just say, let's say you want to open a health and wellness practice in Burlington. If you want to open a business somewhere, don't just say it's all women in that town. Think a little bit more specifically of, who do you want to target with your content? Who could this benefit? That's important, because then you can be very clear in the way that you're writing, right? If you know, for example, the age range, the demographic, maybe is this, maybe if it's women, do these women have children? Are they maybe more single? Do they have, what kind of other products do they buy? Maybe do they go shopping at organic stores? Do they live a sustainable lifestyle or not? What makes your audience special? Who do you want to write for? The second element is the messaging. So it's not just a type of content, like what I said before. It's not just, do I want to do a podcast or do I maybe want to write a blog post? It's really, how do you want to sound? How do you want to come across? What is your voice? What's your tone? Is it more conversational and fun and upbeat? Is it maybe serious? Is it supportive and understanding? It's really good to think about some of these adjectives as you're putting your editorial mission statement together, because it will guide you too as you're producing or writing your content. It gives you a little bit of a taste for how you want to sound and what your tone is. And it will also later help if you ever work with freelance writers or copywriters or maybe a videographer. It will help them, because you can then tell them, here's what I would like to sound, or here's the feeling that I would bring across. So it will help them produce content for you. The last element in your editorial mission statement is your priorities and goals. So why do you even want to share something, right? And that is really unique to all of us. Of course, at the end of the day, you probably want to share something because you want to sell and you want to make money. But there is probably also a second layer that I would encourage you to look at, right? Why do you want to publish? Is it because maybe you want to be seen as the expert in your particular niche and in your particular area? And then if that's the case, you can actually even write down in your editorial mission statement, okay, then I need to maybe look at, how can I put together topics that are in that niche, that really highlight different topics in that niche. And then maybe you could even collaborate with local media or with local other bloggers or local influencers who would maybe co-publish a blog post, or maybe they would republish something, or they would have you on a webinar, for example. It really helps to understand why do you want to publish, rather than just say, oh, I'm blasting something out on social media. And I get into the beats, quote unquote, a little bit later. So let's go to the next slide, unless there are any questions at this point. Okay, so again, the second step, create for your audience. So a lot of times what I find with businesses, whether they're small or big, we create content because we're sharing, amazing milestones. A best example would be to share something like a press release, or maybe we've hit, our annual sales goals, or we have a new product out, and then we want to share that. And it's something that is super important to us and our business, but not always is that piece of information or news equally important to your audience. Your audience is looking for you as a expert in your field, you as a guide, as a mentor, if you will. And so the content that you're sharing is a lot of times better served if you're thinking about how does it help people? How can I share something where they feel included, right? Rather than just talking about me, talk about how you can help them, how they can, maybe get to where they want to be. Let's say you're opening a health spa somewhere. Your audience wants to feel, pampered. They want to feel good at the end of the day. They want to feel less stressed. They want to feel beautiful. So give them some content that helps them feel beautiful, feel pampered, that really doesn't stop your service when they enter your spa or your health facility, but that already gives them that feeling through your content. So it's not just about selling, it's also about serving. So it helps, again, if you know your audiences. So we have, of course, prospects, people that are not our clients yet. So we can, address with our content, we can address what they might be looking for, right? They might have certain pain points, and we can help with our content to already address those and help them overcome those and get a little bit closer to that goal, right? We have current clients that we can still educate even though they're already coming to our business, or maybe we're serving them with our whatever service we have. And then we also have usually partners, friends, and other collaborators in our audience. So don't forget about them. There's a great way to also feature some partners or collaborators. Maybe you have, a guest expert that you invite once in a while. And those are great opportunities to also feature them in your content. What's important too is when you do email marketing, you can segment your email lists to then have, for example, the easiest way to segment your email list is to have a list for the current clients, so current customers, people that you already serve, and maybe you have another list that is, you know, I would call it maybe others, where you put in partners, close friends, and maybe people who haven't bought from you yet. And when you send out emails, you don't just send out newsletters, but you make those emails really, you dedicate them to those particular lists that you have. And every email provider has the ability now to, you know, have different lists for different audiences. Maybe you even serve different cities, and then you want to have different lists for different cities because maybe you have different packages or events in different cities. So it makes sense to segment that way. Another way to really build trust with your audience is when you have an email list and somebody subscribes, to have them automatically get a welcome series when they subscribe to your email. So this welcome email series is something you can write in advance. Again, most email providers have that feature where you can put, you know, a welcome series in, and then once somebody subscribes, they get a little nice welcome set of maybe 4 to 6 emails from you. And that helps to build that trust, to get to know you a little bit. Maybe you can share a little bit about your backstory, or how you come to create your business, or, you know, what you really love about your work. And it basically just creates that bridge, that trust. And that way, when people subscribe to your email, they don't have to wait, you know, until your next regular email comes out, and they'll be surprised by it. Another thing that helps to create for your audience is to ask current customers and clients about the types of content that interests them. I typically do a survey twice a year, which I send out to my current customers and clients, where I ask them, you know, is there anything that you want me to talk about? Is there anything you want to learn about? And I also ask them which piece of blog or article in the last 6 months stood out to you. That gives you an indication of which piece really was memorable and helped them a lot. And that way you can also then get an idea of what you can create in the future that is similar to that piece, or to that piece of content that you created. You can ask your audience to contribute content. A lot of times we're hesitant by asking clients or partners to have a guest blog on our blog post, or maybe come and do an interview or join our podcast. But it's a great way to create for your audience and not just talk at them. You basically bring your people into your content and create together. So at the end of the day, you want to make your audience feel included. You can feature them, you can celebrate them. Of course, always keep in mind, if you do want to feature somebody, maybe you share a photo of someone, always get their permission first, because that's just, you know, not just common courtesy, but it's also a way to get permission and to let them know that you'd like to feature them, and that you're doing that at a certain time, and that way they can share. So it gives you a little bit more opportunity for your content to spread further. So that was this, step number 2. Any questions at this point?
I have a question. The section where you have the welcome emails.
Mm-hmm.
So, you said 4 to 6.
Mm-hmm.
How do you suggest they're spaced out? And in the 4 to 6, are you breaking down different content of, you know, maybe ways they can interact with the team, and what, like, detailed descriptions of what services you provide, things like that?
Yes, exactly. So it really depends on your business, but in general, I would say I would probably do, you know, at 1 a week, 2 a week maximum in the beginning, 2 a week is okay. I would not bombard them. I would not send them 6 emails in the first week. That's way too much. But once a week is actually good. And if you can spread them out over 6 weeks, over 4 weeks, that's fine. Even if in the meantime you send your regular, newsletter type of email out, let's say, that's fine if it overlaps with your welcome series. I would say in the welcome series, make it really personal. As a small business owner, we have an advantage over bigger corporations, and that is that we are small and that we're more approachable. So let's use that to our advantage, right? So in your welcome series, you could, for example, if you're a solopreneur, you could introduce yourself. You could talk a little bit more about your background, what brought you to the business. You could talk a little bit about your services, but I would not make it very salesy in that welcome series. I would talk about the services in terms of, here is what I put together in order to benefit you. And maybe you have different, packages for different people. So you could even feature, a package per email. Or you could say, here are maybe 3 packages. You put that all in an email and say, these are for people that, are looking for XYZ, or people that suffer from XYZ, depending on your business, right? Whether you're in health or in, I don't know, whether you provide a financial service. So you could definitely describe what it is that you do. I would maybe even feature somewhat of like a quote unquote case study, or something like, here is a business that I've worked with, and here's how we work together and what they said about me. So you have somewhat of a testimonial email in there. And then another one that is good to do is to talk a little bit about your values, your guiding principles, but in a way that, again, that makes you approachable, right? Again, a little bit more about how you came to start your own business and why this is important to you, and maybe also why you're so passionate about the field that you're in. So anything that adds, a personal touch and a little bit of humanity to these emails, it's great for a welcome series.
Okay.
So a lot of times when we're a small business, we don't have a big marketing team. How do we do our whole content, production and sharing with a small team or with no team? So here's something that I found that works for people or small businesses that don't have the resources to hire a big marketing team. Again, I feel like we don't ask often enough for our customers, clients, partners. Maybe if we do have team members, even an intern or a part-time person, we can ask for help when it comes to creating content. We don't always have to, make our content super perfect. It doesn't always have to be, an elaborate blog post. Sometimes it's nice to just have a few nice photos or images up. So if you get help from people that are in your, in your circle of friends, in your community, you can actually, get this content creation animal. You can tackle that easier, because that's something that I often hear that I don't have time to do, to write content or to produce anything. So try and find allies that can help you with this. And there are a lot of other, service providers that might not be direct competitors, but they might be aligned with what you're doing, that have their own blog, and they'd be happy to maybe share some of what they've already maybe shared on their blog and repurpose it for your blog or for your, podcast or for your webinar, whatever it is that you want to do in terms of content. So don't be afraid to ask for collaboration when it comes to content. Also, even if you are just one person, I would highly recommend that you set up regular editorial meetings. And even if you just set this editorial meeting with yourself, but if you put it on the calendar, then it means you're planning your content ahead of time. And if you can plan your content ahead of time, you're way ahead of everyone else. Because a lot of times we don't do this step. We don't really sit down and plan. And what doesn't get planned doesn't get done most of the time. So if you sit down once a month, right, and you come up with 4 maybe key ideas for topics that you want to share in the next month, then you already have something that you can work with and that you can turn into, maybe smaller blog posts or into Facebook Lives, or into thinking about, your Instagram posts. Again, you don't have to post on Instagram every single day. The algorithm on Instagram does not reward you for your frequency. It rewards you for your quality of content and the engagement. So if you only post something on Instagram once a week and it's an amazing piece of content that, people then get to like and comment on, that's what gets your Instagram post more visible than posting every day. So coming up with content ideas is really important. And if you do have maybe a VA or an intern or a part-time person that is helping you with this, even better. Set an editorial meeting once a month and start thinking about topics that you can share in the next month and put them on a calendar, which we get to next.
One thing that I normally do is, well, I need to be more vigilant in mapping the content for the month, but I'm really good, I've found, at making sure I have images every chance I can so that I'm not searching for images for the content. I'll already have a stockpile somewhere. So, you might have great lighting and need to take a selfie, or you might see great architecture or just nature pieces just on your day-to-day activities. So I usually try to capture those moments so that when the time comes, I do have an image that I can use to go along with whatever content it is I'm sharing.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. We have our smartphones with us all the time these days, and that's such a great tip. And I do that myself too, especially when you're out and about and, like you said, you see an opportunity for a great shot. Mm-hmm. Also, what I would say is, again, depending on your business, right? Some businesses, it's a little bit tricky, but depending on your business, if you meet your clients in person and it's okay to share a photo that shows you with that client, always take that opportunity to take that photo. And even if it's not, again, it doesn't have to be perfectly lit. It doesn't have to be, the perfect camera. You use your smartphone. It's great because you can use those in your social media marketing and even, in other instances. And again, that helps you showcase your work and you with your clients in action. I think we got another question here.
Yes. It is, let me pop it open. I'm trying to work, where's the chat screen? Why did it disappear? Mm-hmm. It's not opening for me. 1 second.
Yeah, so maybe because I have it open. So let me just read the question. So it seems as though SEO works best with a lot of content, good quality. If you are just one person, how can you keep up? How do you evaluate good content freelancers? So yes and no. SEO, of course, of course, the more articles you have out there over time, the better or the more likely for search engines to rank you higher, because you have a higher chance for people to searching for what you posted. In that case, yes, of course, more content is better. But again, I would suggest that it's not going to help you if you post a mediocre piece of content every day. Even if you're looking at search engine optimization, if you aim for, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 good articles per month, and again, depending on your availability, that at the end of the year, that comes out to, you know, a good number of articles. If you just do two a month, you have more than 100 articles in a year. So that already is a huge amount towards getting your SEO, your search engine up, especially if you are in a regional market. If you are doing something that is, you know, online and global, it's getting a little bit trickier. But if you, let's say, opening a small business in a certain regional market in a city, you can very quickly get your SEO up, even with like 1, 2, 3, 4 articles a month. What I would probably suggest is to use, there are various tools where you could use, even Google offers this, where you can search various keywords and how they are ranking. And you can then basically decide, okay, what article do I want to write? Write your articles based on one particular keyword. So don't choose 2 keywords per article, just do 1 keyword per article. And then you could, slowly kind of increase your library of articles when it comes to SEO. How do you evaluate good content freelancers? Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to, either rely on other people's recommendations. A lot of times that's what helps a lot. If you, ask around using social media, a lot of times you get recommendations from people. That's usually the best way to find any expert. Whether it is, a copywriter, a video person, a graphic designer, a web designer, or PR person. That's usually how I go about this when I'm looking for somebody with certain expertise. I have used Upwork in the past for certain skills, and I have found that you can pretty much already tell if somebody is, professional and really passionate and motivated to do the task by the way they respond. If they take, a lot of effort into their response and maybe giving you a good portfolio of examples of what they've written before or what they've produced before, that's already a good indication of that they are doing, a good job, that they're good at what they're doing. So speaking of freelancers, I think this is something that at minimum your content team should include. And again, this is not anything that you absolutely must have, but it's something that you should think about when you start a small business, to have at least, a couple of people in your address book that you could reach out to if need be. One internal person, and that's usually the person who's owning a business when it comes to small business. Sometimes we are lucky and we can maybe hire a marketing coordinator or manager, somebody who maybe works for us free time or in a freelance capacity, but somebody who is really dedicated to all of our marketing activities, and that includes content. So that's if you were to hire one person, whether it's, in a part-time capacity or as a freelancer, to work for you on a regular basis, it would be that person that I would suggest for you to hire. What I often see, the mistake that people often make, again, depending on where you put your focus, but a lot of times people put a lot of focus on social media and they're looking for somebody who can handle social media. I would probably encourage you to think beyond social media and say, look for somebody who has, more of a wider range and can think in terms of marketing, sales, and then social media is part of their portfolio rather than the other way around, rather than looking for somebody who does social media and then you ask them, hey, can you also write like a full-length blog post, or can you do some, you know, SEO work, or can you, you know, maybe help me organize an event or go to this trade show? And then you have somebody who is specialized on social media. So other external people that you should, you know, at least have in your address book and be able to reach out to if you need them is a copywriter. And sometimes this first person that is part of your team, the marketing coordinator manager, can write pretty strong copy. And maybe sometimes this person can also be super at social media. And at, you know, maybe even doing your web design, because a lot of the web design these days is, you know, either Wix or WordPress, or, you know, other templates that you can use. They're fairly easy enough to manage. But have at least, you know, somebody who can, a strong writer on your team, photographer, videographer, as a freelancer, a graphic designer. I know oftentimes we can do some of our graphic design ourselves, especially with Canva as a graphic design tool. But sometimes you need somebody who can, you know, do something that is, you know, really more professional, and that you just can't do on your own. So have a graphic designer in your address book that you can reach out to. Social media. Web designer, I would say probably more in terms of tech support. What if what if something happens? What if your site goes down? What if, you know, the emails don't go through? What if, you know, things get caught in your spam folder that shouldn't get caught in your spam folder? Do you have somebody that you can reach out to if you have any tech related questions? Maybe your website hosting provides this type of support, but I would definitely suggest you have somebody help you with this. And definite extra is a PR expert. That's not something that is immediately necessary, but sometimes, let's say you have, you know, like a really, you have some outstanding news, something happened, you opened a new business in a new city. Maybe you want to hire somebody to handle all of your media outreach and do a little publicity campaign. So I would say that's not a core person on your team, but somebody that also might be good to have, to know that you could reach out to. It's always advisable too, when you're working with freelancers, to have 1 or 2 backups in case your number one is not available because they're on vacation or they're sick or something, you know, they're overbooked. Then you have a backup. Yeah. Okay, so create a simple editorial calendar, and the emphasis here is on simple. So I would say you can definitely use an Excel sheet or just, you know, Google Sheet for your content calendar. There is an option with Smartsheet, and there is a content calendar app called CoSchedule. Those are a little bit more professional and pricey options, but if you need something more robust, then you could invest in something like CoSchedule, which I think starts at $60 a month for teams. If that's something that you really build your business around, even if it's a small business, it might make sense for you. So you can look into it. But usually for, you know, a small business, and I also just use Google Sheet for my editorial calendar, that's totally fine. What I would do is I would maybe have in your editorial calendar, have one sheet where you just dump all of your ideas that you have for topics. Maybe you have one sheet where you do your SEO research, some of the keywords that you want to write content for. And then I would basically do my little sheet per month, and you just put in, you know, the topics and maybe even your first headline ideas for this piece that you want to write. And just, you know, think about what format should this content be? Should it be an article that I share somewhere? Is it a blog post? Is it maybe an email? Is it just a photo that I share on social media? or is it a video, or a podcast, or whatever it is. Very good too, if you're planning your content, is to look at HubSpot's ultimate social media holiday calendar. They have one every year, and it's really helpful because sometimes we have this really fun and wacky holidays. Like I think yesterday was International Dog Day. There's International Pancake Day. There's a day for everything these days, and sometimes it's really fun to do some sort of content around those holidays, which align with your business, of course, because usually there's a hashtag that is associated with these holidays, where if you do it right and you use the hashtag with your content and you share it on social media, it might actually, get you some traction. If you are more in the nonprofit or even mission-driven business, there is a cause awareness and giving day calendar that is put out by Nonprofit Tech for Good. That's also really interesting because sometimes we want to celebrate, certain days with our community. So check it out. It might give you some ideas for topics for your calendar. Definitely also a tip that I always give is repurpose content. Just because you wrote a blog post doesn't mean you can do a Facebook Live with the same type of content, and just what you wrote about in your blog, you could just go over in the Facebook Live. You could even turn it into a podcast. So repurposing content for different formats is absolutely okay. It's actually something that you see if you look at big companies. They do it all the time because not everyone is everywhere, and if you want to reach people that prefer different content formats, you can definitely share your content in these different ways. And that actually means that you don't have to come up with so many topics all the time, because you could spread out the way that you're sharing it. Maybe today is a blog post, next week it's the same content but maybe as a video. So that's absolutely okay. And we oftentimes think, oh my God, people will notice, and it's not good to do that because it seems like we're repeating ourselves. But again, with the short attention span that we have these days, and we might actually glance at something and then we want to read it later and then we forget about it. It's so good if you actually put the same kind of content in front of your customer's eyes or your prospect's eyes in different ways. Also, when it comes to SEO, back to the question that somebody asked earlier, create evergreen content. So don't just create content that is, applicable to this month or this summer in 2019, but think about content that, could apply to your business, even next summer. And oftentimes those are types of pieces that include frequently asked questions. And what I find too that oftentimes when I work with clients is that they think they have to, kind of reinvent the wheel and come up with these elaborate content topics, where in reality, a lot of our customers, or even people that before they become customers, don't even know so much about what it is that we do. So you could start with some very basic questions, right? If you think of frequently asked questions, you could start with, let's say you're in the financial services industry. You could start an evergreen series where you describe these different, topics in the financial, or not topics, but different, maybe services or words in the financial services industry that are used over and over, and you just explain that. Those would be great evergreen content, and they will help you with your search engine optimization. I think that's something that I would suggest for your editorial calendar. I think if we go to the next slide, it's probably a little bit blurry because I took a screenshot of an editorial calendar that I'm using for one of my clients. But this is a screenshot of a Google Sheet. And so we customized it to her needs, where we basically say, you know, this month, this is one sheet per month. So this month, here are the blog categories that we want to publish in. Then we have the content type, and then we do a title. We do edits needed by, because I'm basically helping with the content, but I have my client edit the content because I'm not an expert in that field. And then we basically have, you know, different other columns here that we need. So we have a column where we dump in the Google Docs, where the content lives, a media link, you know, if there's a YouTube video or podcast, an article image, where does that live, where can I find that, and then publishing date, and the content calendar. There are a few more columns that are cut off, but basically after the publishing date, what we do is we basically have more columns where it says, was it published? Yes, check mark. And then, you know, what is the final URL for the final post published? So that's really a very simple content calendar that you could do for your business. How are we doing with time?
We have about 10 minutes, but I can go over by about another 10. So if we could keep it tight for the next 4.
Okay, let's just maybe go, let's just skip the visual content, because I want to go into the next one. So here's just just some quick ideas on how to host and distribute content. So my tip for people is to always publish on your website first. So you can republish on Medium. You can, they have an import content feature, and you can also republish, of course, on LinkedIn. But always publish on your website first, so that Google basically sees your website as the originator of that article, and all the good SEO juice goes to your site and not to Medium or to LinkedIn. So that's one important thing that I wanted to mention. YouTube over Vimeo, people ask me sometimes, and I would definitely say use YouTube because of its search capabilities. Again, it helps you with, if you do a lot of videos, it helps you also, you know, be found on YouTube, because people use YouTube as a powerful search engine. And you can embed YouTube videos easily on your site to ensure fast loading times, because that's another SEO hack. If your site is loading slowly due to large images or videos that are, you know, in your site, that's really bad for SEO. So don't damage your good SEO juice by, you know, by having slow loading times. Live streams, I think everybody now knows, you know, Facebook Live, IG Live, they're also great for content, and you could even then repurpose them on your website, because you could, you know, link to them later. You could schedule social media posts, but we all know how to do that. Most of us know how to do that these days. And again, don't forget email marketing. I would actually put email marketing at the top of your list, because email marketing is such a great tool to be in direct conversation with your clients and with your prospects. And always in your email marketing, make it known that, hey, you can email me back, right? It's not just a newsletter, it's actually a conversation. And if you have any questions, or if you want to, you know, if you want to get back to me, just hit reply on this email. Opens up a great conversation with your audience. And then I wanted to just give a few tips to make your content human friendly, as I like to call it, because a lot of times we feel like we have to sound, you know, like an expert, but it's better to speak like a human. So don't use jargon, don't use overly complicated text. I really love the Hemingway editor app. If you haven't tried it, try it. You just plug in your text, and it basically gives you different versions of your text for different grade level readers. There's a tool called Cliche Finder if you are not sure whether you're writing about something that is a cliche or not. Again, keep your content short and sweet because we have the attention span of a goldfish. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, especially in live video. It doesn't have to be perfect. Your story is what makes you interesting. So I always tell people, don't be afraid to share honestly and share from the heart. Make yourself feel like, yes, I'm a business owner, but I'm also a human being who, is trying to figure this thing out, has made mistakes. And if you talk openly about, what you're going through, you oftentimes build more trust with people than if you put up a very, expert front. So let your personality shine through and don't try to copy someone else. Own your own voice and style. I know it's easier said than done, but you'll get better at it with practice. So the more you put yourself out there, the more confidence you get to just own your own voice and your own style. Let's go to part 2 because there are a few more tips.
What did I do? Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Yeah. So practice headline magic. So one thing when it comes to your content, on average, 5 times as many people read the headline as they read the body copy. So in order to really put our headlines front and center, I would recommend this headline analyzer by CoSchedule. So if you just Google CoSchedule headline analyzer, but all of these links here are also hyperlinked. So if you want to share this deck later on, Duenia, people can actually find this. Perfect. So this is great if you want to, spruce up your headline. General topic ideas you can also find using the HubSpot blog ideas generator. If you're really out of ideas and you don't know what to write about or talk about, use that. A great new service that is amazing is rev.com, where you can actually get transcription or captions for your video and audio content for very, very cheap. So that's something that I recommend if you want to put videos out there, as people oftentimes watch videos in public places. So it's good if you have captions on your video and you don't have to do that yourself. You can send it to rev.com. One tool that I love is the distraction-free writing. I use Calmly Writer, but there are other ones out there. And again, always ask yourself whichever content you're putting together, is this helpful? Is it easy to understand? And so I think we can skip this part 2. I think if you have any questions about, how to measure if your content is successful, it's really not rocket science. I mean, you will see how many shares and comments and clicks you get on your content. So, the ones, it's just really a matter of keeping an eye on it. And then you'll develop a feel for, oh, this content, if I share more videos or more images, or if I talk a little bit more about this topic, then I get more shares or more comments. So you'll develop a feel for which content performs better than others, and then you could go more into that direction.
Okay.
So again, those were the 8 steps. The last few we kind of rushed through, but that's okay. Again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just need to share your unique perspective on why the wheel is important. I hope that some of these tips were helpful. If you have any other questions, let me know. And also, if you want to talk, about some of your unique situation in person, I always offer a free Rebel session to people who haven't worked with me. So if you're interested, just email me at nina@communicationsrebel.com, and then we can talk about your unique situation, because every business is different, every situation is different. And I am not a proponent of a one-size-fits-all approach. I don't even like templates when it comes to marketing. I think that if you make it your own, and if you really focus on your uniqueness and your true voice, then you'll have more success with your content, because you really will reach people, and you will have them relate to you in a human way.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Nina. I am going to add this question here.
Question: what kind of strategies do you recommend for highly saturated markets? So what I would recommend is, this idea of highly saturated market is a funny one, because I feel like every market at this point is highly saturated, right? Whether you are a massage therapist or a digital marketer, whether you are a hairstylist or a financial planner, there are millions of us out there, right? So first of all, I would not get not be afraid of the idea of there are other people out there that are doing the same thing, and there are millions of other people out there that are doing, that are in the same industry that you are in. The way to really stand out is to work on your brand, to really dig into what makes my way of approaching this niche, whether it's, you're a hairdresser or makeup artist or financial planner, what makes my way different from how other people are doing this. And when you approach it from that way, you already will find that you often have a different perspective. You have, definitely different experience, definitely, your the way that you came to this, work in that business is unique. So all of that basically is more of your story, that is your personal path, and also your unique perspective, your unique angle to how you're approaching that service or that business, is what will make you stand out at the end of the day. So that's why, I come back to this saying, your secret weapon is your true voice. If you really own your own, story, your own experience, your own, basically your own viewpoint, you will find that you will have a very unique perspective that nobody else has. And that's the best thing that you can do to stand out in a saturated market. Don't copy other people, but spend some time and really think about, what makes me special and what makes my viewpoint special. It's not just, the type of skills you have, but it is how you think about those skills, how you think about your customer.
I do have a question. How do you handle content in multiple languages for different platforms? Like, what's your situation on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's something that I personally struggle with myself, I have to say, especially if you are a solopreneur or a small business. So the best thing that you can do is, there are tools out there these days where you could very quickly translate a piece of content into another language. I'm a fan of, it's called deepl.com. I'm not even using the Google Translate anymore. It's Deepl, it's DEEPL.com. It's near perfect when it comes to translating content. So that's what I'm using a lot when it comes to just the, pure translation. And then if you have a blog, you could use, if you have a WordPress site, you could use a plugin to have your site be displayed in 2 languages. And then if people are, or in more languages, if people are coming to your language from a different country, they would automatically see that language that they're in, that matches their country. And you could easily just repost the posts after you've translated them. I would Yeah, I would think about, do you want to have two accounts when it comes to social media? Do you want to have, two language accounts? Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, it really, again, it's a very unique situation. Um, and I would say, try and, in order to manage it, try and think about how you can manage that the easiest, right? In the beginning, especially.
How do you keep your writing simple and technical at the same time?
Simple and technical. Again, I think I would probably go towards those tools like that I mentioned before, like the Hemingway editor. There's another tool that I'm just blanking right now. There's another tool similar to the Hemingway editor that actually lets you plug in your text, and then it basically marks all the technical language, and it gives you alternatives. So I would say, this is where actually artificial intelligence comes in handy, because all those tools are pretty much artificial intelligence based. I would say, use some of those tools when it comes to that type of writing, because it saves you time as well by giving you these suggestions.
Perfect. So I think that's all the questions that there are. I am going to have this uploaded by tonight or the latest tomorrow morning on our YouTube channel. I will send out everyone who registered the replay, along with information on how to contact you. And I guess I can also send them the link to the deck, because you said that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So I
Feel
will
free to
send
share.
that as well, because I wrote, it's funny, I have a little envelope and I wrote, so repurpose of my bell bill.
Perfect.
So yeah, I
That is
wrote
so
a lot
sweet.
here. So this is very, very interesting. I really did learn quite a bit. I have a lot of homework to do,
So
apparently.
glad. Thank you. Yeah, and I hope that it was helpful and also not overwhelming. But again, if any of you have any questions, really take advantage of this, free session. Then we can address some of your very unique questions, and hopefully also eliminate some of that, content overwhelm that we all feel.
Yes, we all do feel it. We all, I know I usually am sitting, scratching my head, trying to go, what should I share today? What should I do today? And I
Mhm.
try to get collaborative, because I do have blog contributors, things like that. So that does help with some of the content. But
Yeah,
yes, there's a lot that we still need to cover. I
yeah.
want to touch on a couple of things so that everyone knows what we have coming up. We did start a team for this year's breast cancer walk in Toronto, the CIBC Run for the Cure. Our team name is October's Finest Boobs. That's right. All the information is on our website and on our Facebook page if you'd like to donate to our team or if you'd like to join our team. And we have two collaborative books that we are trying to put together, one for immigrant entrepreneurs and one for entrepreneurs in general. You can find all that information on our website as well, because we are collecting your stories. So if you would like to be a part of it, please do check out our website and you'll see everything that we have coming up. Now, thank you so much again, Nina. This
Thank you. It was such a pleasure. Thanks everyone for attending.
All right. Have a great night, everyone, and I will have this posted shortly, I promise. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.